The brand new Nike Mercurial is an exceptional football boot when we are talking about the elite level model. I said as much when I recently reviewed the Superfly 8 Elite. However, these come in at over €250, with their Vapor counterpart being €250. Not everybody has got that kind of money just floating around. It's really expensive. So today, I might have the solution for you. What's up guys, I'm James and welcome to BootWizard Boot Reviews. I hope we're all doing well and most importantly, staying safe. Today we're going to be looking at the first takedown model in the brand new Nike Mercurial range, this being the Vapor 14 Pro. Now, of course, you can pick up the Superfly and it's basically an identical boot. You just get the collar with the Superfly, but takedowns are all about getting the best bang for your buck. And here, that's the Vapor, not the Superfly. Right off the bat, that is my recommendation. Go here and not there. So if you do want to pick these up at any point during the review, click the link in the top comment. Do remember to like the video, of course, get subscribed to the channel, and if you can help the channel out, please head to patreon.com/BootWizard, where you can help us out for like the price of less than a beer. It'd be appreciated. Anyway, let's get into the review. As you would expect with any pro-level takedown model, you get a similar vibe to the elite level, but with some of that technology and some of the elements either stripped away or stripped back to keep the prices down. That means that the upper is constructed in a very similar fashion, but with not quite the same materials. So you still get a one-piece upper and you still get a Flyknit central portion to make up where the tongue would normally be. Now, if we do compare this Flyknit for Flyknit with the elite level model, it's not quite of the same quality. Honestly, it feels a little bit more like what you'd expect from Circle Knit than from the Flyknit that you get on the elite level version. But it's still a really premium material on a takedown boot. The rest of the upper may visually resemble the Elite, but you don't get the same elements. The Elite giving you that Avail Q lining with the Titan synthetic on top, the engineered mesh, and that Duragon WT coating. You don't actually get any of that here, but the boot is still constructed in a similar way, with much of the internal components doing a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the lockdown, the shape, the responsiveness, almost the opposite of what you might normally expect to find from a pair of football boots. The thing I find most interesting about the Pro actually is the liner. So on the Elite, you have the Avail Q liner, and then the Flyknit is stitched onto it, so it kind of is a seam from one to another. With the Pro level boot, what you get is this Flyknit center portion that I mentioned earlier, and then that transitions all the way down the boot into a knit material. And I am absolutely willing to bet my life that it's not Flyknit, and based on the feel, the look, that it's Circle Knit. So if you literally, I'll try and get some images up because it's hard to see here, but as you pull out on this, you can see as it transitions down the boot, it actually becomes a fully knitted liner, which is interesting because that's exactly what we'd expect to see as an outer material, and it was the outer material on the previous generation. It doesn't feel fantastically premium because it is this Circle Knit material in terms of quality next to your foot, maybe comfort, especially when you compare it to that super premium Avail Q synthetic on the Elite. But it certainly feels like a premium material, a high quality material that has been used to make up the liner. That runs through like the front three quarters of the boot. The only difference is the back section where you've got a more standard microfiber synthetic, a synthetic suede in the back. So instead of a veil Q, you've got knit, and then instead of all the different types of Titan synthetic, that's what all these colors are, they're all different areas of Titan synthetic, you basically have one type of synthetic that runs around the whole boot, and that's evident in areas like the front, like the toe here. So this is supposed to be a thinner area of Titan synthetic for a sharper touch on the ball. You don't get that here. This feels very similar to the synthetic through the midfoot, through the lateral side, the medial side, it's all the same. And then you've also got exactly the same thing, and the most noticeable area is across this section here, where you can see that the coloring is in there for the speed band as if it was Titan synthetic, but it's certainly not. There's no nylon band that runs along the synthetic here. This is just a colored piece of synthetic. Now, this of course means that the boot isn't as responsive, isn't as locked in as you would expect from the elite level version, but you're also paying a whole heap less money, and it still does all those things really, really well. The most important thing to know is that because of that, and because of the kind of downgrade of material standard, the upper is thicker and therefore a little bit stiffer than what you might expect to get from the elite level version. It does mean that the touch on the ball is still sharp, it's still pingy, and it definitely has those synthetic vibes, but it's not quite as soft and pliable and lovely as you might expect from some other boots. And I'm obviously saying that it's stiffer than the elite, which is in itself, because it is a synthetic, slightly on the stiffer side. It's just the way that synthetics are. You just have to deal with that. This isn't bad, especially for the price, but do expect something that's a little thicker, a little stiffer, but still going to give you that great mercurial ping off a synthetic boot. On top of that synthetic, we have this grid pattern, which again mimics what you get on the elite. The difference being that in the elite level version, you have all of these different pattern types. So it's much tighter through this speed band area to basically benefit your lockdown, benefit your responsiveness. That's not the case here. This is more visual than anything else, and it doesn't offer that same kind of feeling. It also doesn't offer the same kind of feeling in terms of the texture on the ball. This is much smoother, not overly so, but definitely much smoother than you would get from the elite here. Again, this boot is significantly cheaper than this one, so we have to take this into account the whole time. And I'm not criticizing this for being bad, just doing a direct comparison. And honestly, the fact that I'm sat here comparing a pro to an elite because they are already so close should be taken as a huge positive for the pro level boot, because it has so many elements that you get from a boot that's over €100 more expensive. One thing that is quite noticeable side by side that you maybe wouldn't normally pick up on is actually the top coating. So the top coating on this is not the Duragon wet traction that you get on this with ACC. So it is noticeable, and I am backing an invisible technology here that the touch on the ball in wet weather is noticeably better on the elite when compared to the pro. And that is because of the Duragon wet traction coating, not because of the ACC, because both boots do have ACC. This just has a different silicone top coating, which is better in wet weather. But this isn't bad. It's not going to be a tragic game changer and a reason to not buy the boot. Just something I noticed because, hey, it's raining a lot at the moment and I use these boots when it's very wet. There are some other details on the upper that are just literally visual. So you look at things like these holes that are in here. These are literally just areas where the top coating, that silicone coating, has been adjusted and basically not applied fully. It's not like you can see directly through the boot into that Avail Q lining on the Elites. It's all just there for kind of visual callbacks, and it does show the difference in construction, that much different liner with that thicker top coating. That's where you're going to be able to physically see the difference if you go looking for it. But for an upper on a €140 boot that is significantly cheaper than the elite level, I think this is really, really good, and if you like that synthetic ball feel, this will absolutely provide you that at a budget price point. Although, maybe a huge deal breaker for you, the speed wings, the mighty speed wings, are just painted on, and in this black colorway, you can barely see them. How will I run fast? It's a sad time. All right, it's excellent, and I'm being facetious about the speed wings. Let's move on to the traction. The outsole, as you can see, looks and is incredibly similar to what you're gonna get from the elite level version. All of the studs are the same shape, they're in the same position, and they give the same great traction in firm natural grass. You still get that stiffer area, the Aerotrax plate, that comes on both boots. The only major difference is literally the materials used. The materials used on the pro level boot just aren't quite as high quality. The upper isn't quite as stiff and doesn't give you quite the same rebound and spring back as you are going to get from that elite level boot. You also still get a variation of that anatomical sole plate, which is great for the fit. It's not exactly the same, it doesn't feel the same, it's definitely not quite as premium, but the fact that it's there at all on a boot that's 140 euros and it offers so much of that same sensation, especially through the sole plate, is just fantastic. It's just so close to a boot that's so much more expensive than it. And I've already said that applies to the upper. It also applies to the outsole. You're just stacking up a load of really impressive things about a boot that is significantly cheaper than what you're gonna get here. I'm not suggesting that it's better in any way, but the value for money, which we'll get onto in a second, is excellent. Okay, wait, simply let's throw these on the scales. We'll start with the pro level version, and that's coming in at 209 grams, which is a nice lightweight football boot, especially in a takedown. If I remember correctly, not quite as light as what it replaces in the Vapor 13 Pro, and of course, not quite as light as what you're gonna get from the elite level model either. These are both in a US size 8, just to give you frame of reference, and overall, still a lightweight football boot that feels light on your feet, and it ticks all the boxes when it comes to being a speed boot. No complaints. Value for money. Now, I've frequently said that top-end football boots, particularly when we're talking Nike DF collar boots, are crazy expensive, but that's the way the market is right now. Most people are not going to be in a position to spend that kind of money, so something like a pro-level boot is a really good compromise if you can get one that is a high quality. And right here, right now, I am happy to say, for the third generation in a row, if you ask me, this is the best takedown model on the market. It offers so much of what you're gonna get from the elite level boot. It's not as good. I'm not trying to say it's as good as the elite level at all. If you gave me both an unlimited budget, I'm gonna pick up the elite, of course I am. But if I'm on a budget and I want the newest Mercurial, I'm not gonna try and pick up anything on sale. It's difficult to beat this of any takedown model of any boot that's on the market right now. Adidas have done a great job stepping up their takedown game. This is still better. The sensation is still closer to what you're gonna get from the elite level version. It's just really, really good. If you are looking for something like this, but you're maybe on even more of a budget, I should definitely check out the review I did recently of the Charlie PFX Gignac boots, because they do offer a lot of what this does for yet an even cheaper price. So I'll leave a pop-up up in the corner if you want to check that out. And if you do want to pick these up, which as I say, I'm happy to recommend at this point in the video with still some categories to go, then do hit the top comment, the link in the top pinned comment below. I'll get there in the end. Value for money on these, considering what's around it, is fairly unbeatable. They're excellent. All right, fit and comfort, starting with the most important thing, the thing that everybody wants to know. What is the sizing like? And true to size is your answer. The length in these is actually almost exactly and identical to what you're going to get from the elite level boot. So pick up your regular size. I've got my US 8. They will fit you absolutely fine. In terms of the width, I don't recommend these for people with wide feet. Now, the upper itself is that little bit stiffer than you're going to get from the elite level boot. So despite having a pretty nice anatomical shape, especially for a takedown boot, I don't think it offers a huge amount of width. It is, however, worth noting that this central section here, this Flyknit section, is wider in the pro level boot than it is in the elite level boot, which does give you a little bit more flexibility. But at the same time, the whole package together, I actually think that this feels a little bit tighter to my feet than this one does. Now, you might actually say that that's a good thing and that's something you want, but if we're talking about getting boots onto people who have particularly wide feet, this isn't one I recommend. Reasonably wide feet, a slightly wide foot, fine. Very, very wide feet, I would personally stay away. There's not a lot of give in these. In comfort terms, the fit is nice and close and tight and pretty much everything that I want from a Mercurial delivered in a takedown pro level package, which I'm very pleased with. The heel liner is okay, the padding is okay. I don't have any huge complaints to make, but it certainly does feel like a pro level takedown in that area. It's not an area where I'm, oh, that could be an elite level boot. And then the liner that runs through the boot, of course, that circle knit that does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the boot. It is a premium material, but it doesn't feel super premium against your feet. And it's the same with the liner itself. The shoe liner, it is removable. It's not super premium. So overall, the feeling on your feet is one that is less premium and honestly worth less money than the elite level version, but it is significantly cheaper. It's just one of the things you have to deal with. But for the money, it's something I could absolutely live with. Shape and design is overall excellent, and the only real complaint that I have is going back to that central area, is that if you're not careful, you could maybe get a little bit of bunching up here and there, which isn't something you get with the elite level model, but it's such a minor little thing, and it will vary from person to person. You still get the little heel tab on here, which you get on the elite, which I think looks actually weirder on this because it's a tiny little tab, because the rest of the opening sits a lot higher than it does on the elite level model. And honestly, that's one of the only visual things that really gives away that this is a pro level takedown, is the fact that this collar area, this just comes up a little bit higher than it does on the elite. And other than that, they look like a really premium boot, especially when you get them on feet. The lockdown is good, the responsiveness is good. Everything about these boots on feet is excellent for a boot at 140 euros. It's just a good football boot for the price that you pay. Overall, for me, this is the best takedown model on the market for at least the third generation in a row. If you wore the previous generation Pro, you're not going to be disappointed here. The areas such as fit, lockdown, responsiveness are probably improved from that previous generation. However, you do have a slightly stiffer upper because you get a slightly more pingy, barefoot, synthetic style feel. You have to live with that stiffer upper as a result. Bit of give and take, which I believe is exactly what I said about the elite level model as well. I don't think anybody who's coming from the previous generation Pro is going to be too disappointed with picking this up, even if they both have pros and cons. Pros and cons. I'll show myself out. We did a poll on my community page a couple of days ago where I asked you what level of Nike boots you normally buy, with a whopping 75% of you saying you normally pick up the elite level boots. If that's the case, do you still want to see reviews of the pros on the channel? If you do, hit the like button just to let me know, and comment down below what you think of these particular pro level models. Of course, get subscribed to the channel if you haven't done already. If you do want to pick these up, then click the top link in the top pinned comment down below. And if you can help us out for the price of a cappuccino in a Starbucks, then please do head to patreon.com/BootWizard, because it is super helpful. Please, thank you. That's all from me here today. Have a good one, and we'll see you soon.